Hello all. In this video, we'll have a brief discussion on the differences between net present value and IRR, and we will also introduce something called MIRR, that is modified internal rate of return. So there are basically 4 questions we are trying to answer in this video. Question number 1 is why do we have conflict between NPV and IRR? Second one is what should we do when there are differences in the size of cash flow of projects, and the third one is on how should we deal with differences in reinvestment rate assumptions, and the last one is what is modified internal rate of return, which is otherwise known as MIRR, and how is it computed, right? So question number 1 is this: why do we have conflict between the result of NPV and IRR when we are evaluating projects, right? Some of you might have already observed that, some of you might not have observed that. So in that case, I am going to introduce this situation today in this session, right? So the reason for the difference in the results of NPV and IRR are basically arising because of 2 points, right? The first point of difference is sometimes when you are going to compare project A with project B, you may have differences in their size of cash flow. That means, for instance, project A may have a cash outflow of 1000 crores, whereas project B may be having a cash outflow of 10,000 crores. And the cash inflows for both the projects may again differ in terms of their size, right? So if that is the case, you will have contradictory results between NPV and IRR. So that is what we are going to discuss today. One of the major aspects of today's discussion is that. The second component of today's discussion is on the second reason for the difference between the results of NPV and IRR, that is arising from the differences in the reinvestment rate assumptions by NPV and IRR methods, right? So this is what we need to know first, and the second question is this: how are we going to deal with differences in the size of cash flows of projects? It would be better I take a numerical illustration in order to explain this point. So I have taken a hypothetical company, namely Sarans Gaurav Anurag Sahil Limited SGASL. They are having 2 projects, and the life of each project is 5 years, and the cash flows are given in terms of INR crores. So I have created a kind of table wherein all the details are given about the cash flows of projects along with the years, right? So time 0 initial investment for project 1, it is 2000 crores. It's written in bracket because outflow. For project 2, initial investment is 20,000 crores. So that means project 2 is 10 times that of project 1 in terms of its cash outflows, right? If you are going to look at year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the cash inflows for project 1 and 2 are given. Project 1, it is 700 crores, 900 crores, 1200 crores, 1500 crores and 1800 crores. Project 2, it is 6,000 crores, 7,000 crores, 9,000 crores, 11,000 crores and 13,000 crores. The most important point, guys, please note this, right? In the previous session, we were discussing about cash flow to the entire firm, right? Here we are discussing about cash flow to equity shareholders. So as I told you, if you visualize a balance sheet, right? If you assume, the project, as the entity, that means you are preparing the balance sheet for the project. So that means all the assets you are going to invest in the project on the left hand side are going to be funded either by lenders or by your equity shareholders, right? So that means there are 2 approaches to valuing projects. One is you look at the entire project. So that means you are going to look at the entire cash flow for the project. That means you are talking about free cash flow to the firm approach. If you are going to look only from the perspective of equity shareholders, that means you are ignoring lenders. That means you are going to look at cash flow to equity. That means if you are going to talk about net present value, the hurdle rate is going to be cost of equity. Whereas in the previous example, in the previous session, what we have discussed, we had considered free cash flow to the firm and then we had discounted them by using your cost of capital. Here it is free cash flow to equity. That means we will start with PAT. I already explained in my previous video. Suppose if you have missed that, please view that video again. So that means you are going to start with PAT, profit after tax, and then you are going to add depreciation amortization, and then you will subtract delta capex. You will again subtract or add, right, delta net working capital, and then you will also go for adjusting net debt, right? So that is what you have to do if you are going to talk about free cash flow to equity, right? Yeah. So here we are talking about that. That is what you need to understand, right? Yeah. So that means two different projects, namely project 1 and project 2, having two different initial investment, as well as having different pattern of cash inflows which are happening in the entire life of the project, that is 5 years. So the cost of equity for both the projects, it is 18%, right? Normally you may have a difference between cost of equity, right, of projects, but here we are assuming it is same. Okay, so there are two questions we need to answer here. Question number 1 is what is the NPV of both the projects. Second one is what is the IRR of project 1 and 2, right? So let's compute first NPV. So in order to compute NPV, I have just gone for a table like this, wherein we have a year starting with 0 going up to 5, and we have PVIF, present value interest factor. So at the rate of 18%, that is a cost of equity. For year 0, I mean time 0, it is 1 because there is no discounting that is happening here. Whereas year 1 to 5, we have to discount the cash flows. So that means for year 1, the discount rate is going to be 1 upon 1.18, so that is 0.847, divided by 1.18, that will give you 0.718 for year 2, divided by 1.18 will give you 0.608 for the next year, and then if you keep doing that, you are getting PVIF of 0.516 for year 4, 0.437 for year 5. Now what we have to do is we have to convert the absolute cash flows into present value of cash flows. So these are all the absolute cash flows, right, for the project 1. So that means 700, 900, 1200, 1500 and 1800 crores. So now let's convert these into, right, discounted cash flows, right? So let us do the thing for right, year number 1 for project 1. So that is how much? That is going to be 700 into 0.847. So that is giving us 593. For the next year it is 900 into 0.718. So that is giving 0.646. For year 3 it is 1200 into 0.608, that is giving 730 crores. For year 4 it is 1500 into 0.516, that gives us discounted cash flow of 774 crores. And the last year for project 1 it is 1800 into 0.437, that gives us 787 crores. If you add all these 5, that gives us gross present value of 3530. Okay, and for project 2, similarly if we do that, we are getting 5082, 5026, 5472, 5676, 5681 crores. If you add all these 5 years numbers, it is giving us gross present value of 26937 crores, right? Now let's find out NPV, net present value, right? Yeah, so for project 1 it is 3530, right, minus initial investment of 2000 crores. So how much it is, Aditya? It is 1530 crores, right? For next project it is 26937 minus 20,000 crores, that is giving us NPV of INR 6937 crores, right? Yeah. So if these two projects are mutually exclusive, right? What do you mean by mutually exclusive? If these two projects are there, suppose they are competing alternatives, so that means they are substitutes to each other, so we may consider either one of them, right? So that is what mutually exclusive, right? On the other hand, there may be projects which are interdependent, right? So that means you can take both. You should take both if they are interdependent, right? Because complementary in nature, right? So here if you assume they are mutually exclusive, then based on NPV, we are going to select project 2. Why? It is giving highest NPV. And we are going to reject project 1 because it is giving us lowest NPV, right? If we can consider both the projects, that means we will rank them. So that means this will get rank 1, project 2 will get rank 1, project 1 will get rank 2 based on NPV, right? So this is what your NPV. Now let's look at what happens to the same projects if we are going to compute IRR, right? I have not explained how we are computing IRR, guys. I already told you, either you can use your finance calculator or you can go for your Excel function and then you can compute your IRR. Only caution, as I told you in the previous video, you have to make sure that you are keying in the absolute cash flows for the project and you are not keying in the discounted cash flows. Okay, so that means project 1 IRR is 43%, project 2 IRR is 30%, right? So now let's compare. So if you compare project 1 and project 2 on the basis of NPV and IRR, we are getting a conflicting result, right? For example, if you go by NPV, okay, what happens here is, Sarans, you will select project 2 because it is giving highest NPV, and you will reject project 1 if you are talking about mutually exclusive project. Otherwise, we will rank this as 1 and we will rank project 1 as 2, right? Yeah, if we are talking about not mutually exclusive project, right? Yeah. On the other hand, if we go by IRR, internal rate of return, we are going to select project 1 and we are going to reject project 2, right? Because, right, this is giving highest IRR. But I told you in the previous session that you have to compare, right, your IRR with your discount rate. So that means IRR 43%, right, whereas your discount rate is 18% here. Here also discount rate is 18%. So that means the difference here is coming to be 43 minus 18. How much it is? Panindra, right? Jasmeet, Asutosh, how much it is? Right? Rishabh. So 43 minus 18 is going to give us 25%, right? Yeah. Whereas here it is going to give only 12%. So the result remains the same, right? Yeah. So what we are getting here is conflict of, right, rankings, right? So I repeat, right? I repeat, we are getting in this case two different rankings. If you go by NPV, you are going to select project 2 and reject project 1, assuming they are mutually exclusive. If you are going to go by IRR, you are going to have opposite decision. That means you are going to select project 1 and you are going to reject project 2, assuming they are mutually exclusive, right? Yeah. So that means it's a dilemma now, right? What should we do? Should we go for tossing a coin, right? So let's go for tossing a coin and then decide which one is better. Navneet, is it NPV or IRR? Right? Aditya, why don't you tell? Right? Yeah. Correct, na? Viresh, yeah. So difficult, right? Yeah. So that means we have to decide now which one is the better one. Before we are going to decide on this, let's try to make some sort of inferences, right? So there are two inferences we are making here. Inference number 1 is this: projects with higher magnitude of cash flows have higher NPV compared to projects with lower cash flows. Let's verify that. Let's look at the projects with cash flows, right? So if you look at only cash outflow, project 2 is having 10 times of project 1. If you look at cash inflows, they are also much higher compared to cash inflows of project 1. So that means project 2 is having higher magnitude of cash flows, right? So that means what is the expectation in terms of result? Project 2's NPV should be higher than project 1. Let's look at our NPV numbers. Project 2 numbers, right, NPV is much higher than project 1, right? Around 8 times, right? Yeah. So that means this inference is correct, right? This inference is correct. That means projects with higher, right, magnitude of cash flows generate higher NPV compared to projects with lower cash flows. What is the second inference? Projects with lower cash flows generate higher IRR compared to projects with, right, higher cash flows, because the denominator is lower, right? Because once you are going to look at rate of return, obviously you are going to have an investment as your denominator. So that means the denominator is going to be lower if you are talking about projects with lower cash flows, right? So that means obviously their IRR will be greater than that of projects with larger cash flows, right? So let's look at the result for IRR. Okay, it's true, right? So project 2 is giving only 30% IRR, whereas project 1 is giving 43%. So that means our conclusions are right, our inferences are right? Not conclusion. So what should be the conclusion now, right? Conclusion is pretty simple. When there is a conflict between NPV and IRR, right? Because there is a difference in terms of the size of cash flows between the projects, what you have to ask is, you have to ask one single question, right? Is there any problem with the company in terms of its funding arrangements? That means whether the company is suffering from capital rationing constraint. I told you already, right? Rationing, that means when there is limited resources, you talk about rationing. Otherwise, you don't talk about rationing, right? So the resource here is capital. That means you are not able to mobilize adequate capital and economy is not doing well, or your company has some problem. So that means you may not be able to issue equity shares. You may not be also able to borrow money. So that means what you have to do is you have to manage with the existing amount of funds. That is what capital rationing constraint. It's a constraint. It is a restriction. It's a limitation, right? So if that is the case, right, what you have to do is you have to go by NPV. Okay? Am I right? I repeat, if there is no capital rationing constraint, you should go by NPV. Okay? Don't misunderstand me, right? If there is no capital rationing constraint, that means there is no problem, right? You have adequate money, you can mobilize money immediately. That is the case, you can go by NPV because there is no problem. If there is capital rationing constraint, then what should you do is you should go for IRR. So that means you should not go by NPV, right? So this is the conclusion we need to have, right, when there is difference in the size of cash flows. The next question is this: how should we deal with differences in reinvestment rate assumptions, right? So first of all, let us understand the approach of net present value assumes that intermediate cash flows are reinvested at hurdle rate, that is your discount rate, whereas the IRR approach assumes the other way. It assumes that the intermediate cash flows are reinvested at IRR. Okay, so that is what the major difference, right? So normally the IRR may be greater than hurdle rate. So if that is the case, obviously you will be having differences in the results, right? So let me give you an illustration again. So the name of the company is Aditya Tanai Mani Karthik Rahul Limited, ATM KRL. Amount in INR crores, all the cash flows are given in INR crores. Life is 4 years. As usual, there are 2 projects, but here I am assuming cash flow to the firm. That means I am going to discount using cost of capital. It's the hurdle rate. Hurdle rate is a common word. It refers to both cost of capital and cost of equity. Here it is cost of capital. WACC it is, right? Because you are talking about cash flow to the entire firm, right? So there are 2 projects. Life is only 4 years. As you see here, observe here, both are having equal amount of cash outflow, 4,000 crores. The first project generates these amounts as its cash inflows, 3,000 crores, 2,500 crores, 2,000 crores, 1,500 crores. Project 2 generates 1,800, 2,200, 2,500, 3,200 crores as the inflows. Now questions are same. What is the NPV of these 2 projects? What is the IRR of these 2 projects? And how are we going to conclude, right? Yeah. So now let's compute NPV. Yeah. Shilpa, try this. So we'll start with the year 0 to 4. We'll go for PVIF at the discount rate of 15%. Year 0 it is 1, time 0 it's not year 0. Year 1 it is 1 upon 1.15.870 divided by 1.15.756 divided by 1.15.658 divided by 1.15.572. So these are all the discounted cash flows, right? So that means 2610, 1890, 1316, 858 gives GPV of 6674 for project 1, whereas for project 2 we are getting GPV of 6704 crores. You guys can verify this, right? Please try this. Please compute on your own finance is understood by way of doing, not by observing others doing, right? So that means you should take your pen and paper and you should start doing all these things so that you get to know what is the process involved in, right, assessing the projects, right? Yeah. So that means we need to know the NPV now. So that means gross present value minus initial investment gives us NPV for project 1, that is 2674. For project 2 it is 2704. So now which project will you take? Shonak, right? Deepshika, right? Yeah, if you are going by NPV rule, if these two are mutually exclusive, whichever gives higher NPV you will select. So that means you will select project 2, not project 1, right? Yeah. If you are going to rank them, then project 2 rank 1, project 1 rank 2. If you go for IRR, project 1 is giving IRR of 50%, project 2 is giving IRR of 42%. So that means if you go by IRR, you will select project 1, Sharma, Anurag, right? And not project 2, right? Because that is giving higher IRR. So again there is a conflict. Again there is a dilemma, right? So let's first make the inference here. Projects with higher cash flows at earlier periods generate higher IRR than projects with lower cash flow at earlier periods, right? So that means let's look at the problem again. So you can see here, project 1 is having higher cash flows at the earlier periods, 3000, 2500, 2000, 1500. Whereas project 2 is generating higher cash flows towards the end. Okay, so that means project 1 should have higher IRR. Let's come to the result now. Yeah, it is true. Project 1 is having higher IRR. Project 2 is having lower IRR, right? Yeah. So now what to do? Correct? What is the solution, right? In the previous case, when projects are differing in terms of their cash flows, right, size of cash flows, I told you have to look at capital rationing constraint. That means if there is capital rationing problem, then you should go by IRR. If there is no capital rationing, then you should go by NPV. In this case, right, when projects are differing because of the right basic rules of the methods in terms of reinvestment rates, the solution is we may try for something called modified internal rate of return. Okay, what it is? It is the weighted average of IRR is different rate, hurdle rate is different rate. We have just seen that. So it is a weighted average of these two. It depends. The weight depends on the length as well as the amount of the cash flows, right? Yeah. So that means IRR assumes that intermediate cash flows are reinvested at IRR. Okay. Whereas MIRR assumes that intermediate cash flows are reinvested at hurdle rate, right? So that means MIRR formula is this: terminal value divided by initial investment to the power of 1 by n minus 1. N here refers to number of periods. Initial investment you know, terminal value you don't know. We are going to look at this very quickly, right? Yeah. So there are basically two steps, Mohit, right? Krishna, Shashank, right? Step number 1, right? We are going to compute terminal value. In step number 2, we are going to compute MIRR. Okay. For project 1, that is for ATM KRL, it looks like this. Okay. I am going to first compute terminal value, right? Guys, listen carefully, yeah? Right? So cash outflow is 4,000 crores. Cash inflows are year wise it's given. Year 1 3,000 crores, year 2 2,500, year 3 2,000, year 4 1,500. Please mind, these are all absolute cash flows. That means the cash flows as given in the problem, and they are not your discounted cash flows, right? So making use of cash inflows from year 1 to year n, I am going to compute the terminal value for this project. Okay. For year 1, it is going to be 3,000 into 1 plus hurdle rate. Here it is 15%, right? So that means 1.15 to the power 3. Why 3? Because we are at the end of year 1. The remaining life is 3 years. 1, 2 and 3. So that means to the power of 3 gives us the number of 4563. That means here actually we are finding out the future value. The terminology we are using is terminal value. Terminal means at the end, final value, right? Closure value, right? So that means what is the end of the project? 4 years. So that means at the end of the 4th year, what is going to be the number? That is what we are trying to compute, right? So that means 3000 into 1.15 power 3 gives us 4563. For year 2 it is 2500. How many more years are there, Reshmi? 1 and 2, right? Abhi, multiply 2500 with 1.15 to the power 2. You are getting 3306. Vatsal, what about year 3 numbers? 2000, right? Into 1.15 to the power 1, Vishal. Okay, why only 1? Because you have only one more year left, right? Yeah, correct. Go for the next one, right? The area, right? Last year 1500. It is already at the end of year 4. You don't need to compute, or you don't need to, right, go for finding out what will be the future value, because the future is not there, because already it's over, right? That means 1500 is 1500. Here it is 2000 into 1.15, that is 2300. Add all these 4 values, right? 4563 plus 3306 plus 2300 plus 1500 gives us terminal value of 11669. Now compute MIRR, step 2. 11669 terminal value divided by initial investment for project 1, that is 4000, to the power of 1 by n, because n is 4 years, minus 1 because we want to convert this entire result in terms of percentage, gives us MIRR of 30.69% for project 1, right? Now let's do the same thing for project 2. Okay, right? Yeah, for project 2 it is going to be, right, Shubham, why don't you try that? So 4000 crores cash outflow, 1800, 2200, 2500, 3200 are absolute cash inflows for year 1, 2, 3, 4 respectively. Okay, so for year 1 numbers, convert that into terminal value. 1800 into 1 plus discount rate to the power of n, 1.15 into 3 gives us 2738. For the next year it is 2200 into 1.15 power 2 gives us 2910. For the next year it is 2500 into 1.15, because we are already at the end of year 3, we only need to go for only one more year. So 1.15 power 1 into 2500 gives us 2875 crores. For the last year it is already at its value, so 3200, write as it is. Add all these 4, gives you terminal value of 11723 crores. Now convert this into your MIRR. Use the formula, right? Terminal value by initial investment to the power of 1 by n minus 1. So that means 11723 divided by 4000 to the power of 1 by 4 minus 1 gives us a MIRR of 30.84% for project 2. So now let's look at the comparison here. Project 1, project 2. If you go by IRR, project 1 is getting selected. If you are talking about mutually exclusive projects, thereby you are rejecting project 2, because 1 is giving higher IRR compared to 2 by around 8%. If you go by MIRR, again assuming mutually exclusive projects, right, what happens now is the opposite result. Project 2 is giving, right, the better result, marginally, of course marginally, nevertheless it is giving higher number. So we will select project 2 compared to project 1 in case of mutually exclusive projects, if you are going to talk about MIRR. So what are you understanding by this? The one thing we get from this is this: MIRR and NPV provide or produce same conclusion for projects with equal size and life. Okay, that means if you look at our example, just go back, let's look at our example, right? In this example we are talking about equal size, right, and equal life, more or less, right? So that means what is going to happen is, right, we are going to have NPV. See here, what is the NPV decision? Select project 2, reject project 1. What is the decision of MIRR? Okay, same, select project 2, reject project 1, right? Yeah, MIRR. So that means both the MIRR and NPV are going to produce same conclusion for projects with equal size and life, right? Yeah. Now the question is, should we do MIRR? Answer is, it's a cosmetic exercise, right? Yeah. So that means what you have to do here or understand from this is simple. Whenever there is a conflict between NPV and IRR, please check for the capital rationing constraint. If there is capital rationing, go by IRR. If there is no capital rationing, go by NPV. In all other cases, when there is a conflict between NPV and IRR, you should go by NPV because NPV is the better method compared to IRR. Correct? Yeah. So with that we come to the end of this session. So we have discussed answers for 4 questions in detail in this video. The questions are these: why do we have conflict between NPV and IRR? And what should we do when there are differences in size of cash flow of projects? How should we deal with differences in reinvestment rate assumptions? And the last question we answered in this video is: what is MIRR and how is it computed?